Welcome to Sistory History and to the first episode in our new miniseries, Londinium, Life in Roman London. Over the next 3 episodes, we'll take you on a journey across 3 key sites in the capital that you can visit today, and we'll discuss our favourite exhibits to see what they reveal about life on this edge of the Roman frontier. As usual, we'll be looking beyond the mundane facts and figures and instead dive into the wonderful world of the sensory. Today, we're heading deep beneath the bustling streets of the modern city and into the heart of ancient Londinium, to the Temple of Mithras, a hidden sanctuary which once echoed with secret rites, flickering torches, and whispered prayers. Caroline, why don't you tell us a bit about the site and what to expect?
We had a lovely day at the Mithraeum, didn't we, Laura?
We did, it was great.
Very easy to visit.
Yep.
It's free. So all you do is you go online, you book your slot, you turn up. It's not very big.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say we were there for 30 minutes, and we were thorough. You go in. On the first floor, there's a big display case of objects that they found during the excavation. Then you go downstairs, which is quite fun. You're actually going down into the ancient city. There are a few more displays, and I think it was Joanna Lumley doing a voiceover.
Do you think?
Pretty sure it was her, and some experts. And then you go downstairs again, and there's the temple with that audio-visual display.
Yep.
What do you think? A few minutes the show lasted, and it's very dark. You get some Latin chanting, a few twinkles of light. So there you go. That's visiting the Mithraeum.
What about the cult of Mithras then? Let's do a bit of context setting.
Right, okay. The cult of Mithras was an all-male mystery cult. We don't know that much about it, but it was popular with soldiers, merchants. That's why you often find these temples on the frontiers of the empire.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the soldiers are. It could fit about a congregation of 50. Quite closed-knit, this community.
Mm.
The Mithraeum itself, often underground or partially underground, no natural light, cave-like really, and some are actually decorated to look like caves. There's a central aisle and then long benches on either sides of this central aisle, and at the end of the aisle you've got the statue of Mithras slaying the bull. There are 7 grades of membership and you get initiated. My favourite thing is the initiation, because it kind of is like going to university in America and you want to join, I don't know, Alpha Beta Pi.
Right.
So you are stripped naked, blindfolded, your hands are tied up. Then there's some kind of rebirth ceremony.
This sounds a bit saucy.
While you're naked.
Mm-hmm.
And then the blindfold's removed and you would see this glowing image of Mithras. That's the first thing you see when you suddenly see light again. This epiphany, almost.
But everyone else is looking elsewhere.
Looking a bit south of Mithras.
A bit south of Mithras.
Eating is a big part of the cult, so
Nice.
It seems to be some kind of community gathering of people, all men. And it reminds me of the Masons.
I was going to say, it sounds a bit Masonic lodgy in terms of the layout.
The layout, the number of people,
Mm.
the eating and the initiation,
Yeah.
the secrecy, and then there's levels of membership as well.
What are these levels, do we know?
Well, I know the first one is Raven, and then at the top you've got the Father. But what's nice for us, talking about the sensory, is that you've got the dark, you've got the light, you've got the flickering oil lamps, the smell of the smoke, the smell of the incense, the food that you're eating, all in these long lines on these benches. Maybe a bit humid sometimes, maybe a bit chilly in these spaces.
Yep. What was Mithras the god of?
There's a connection with Sol, sun. He may also have been connected to the universe as a whole. So in that image of the cult statue, you've got the bull, which is Taurus. You've got a scorpion, so perhaps Scorpio. The sun and the moon also in that image. Rebirth, the universe, sun.
Circle of life.
Circle, yeah, fertility. Probably, fertility.
Everything's
probably,
fertility, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, so really they're mainly coming for the show, in inverted commas, and the sandwiches afterwards.
It sounds like some kind of male bonding experience where you get to take your clothes off and then eat some sandwiches.
Yeah, I feel like this is quite good stag do material if anyone's listening and is about to get married soon.
Nip down to the Temple of Mithras.
Get yourself a rebirth ceremony.
And then drinks after. Yeah, great.
Well, during the excavation, there were 14,000 objects found around the River Walbrook, which is the area that we're talking about in the City of London, 600 of which are on display.
Yes, in that big case on the first floor.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about 3 of them today.
Just 3 of them.
So, Laura, what was your favourite object from the display case?
My favourite object was the steel yard balance. Now, traders would use these to take accurate measurements. Note to everyone, we will put these photos on our social media and on our website so you can follow along. Steel yard balance then, a set of scales really, made from mixed metals. There is an arm across the top, about 20 centimetres, on which are grooves, and these grooves are indications of measurement scales, and there's 2 separate scales on there, so we can measure different things, different commodities in different ways.
Clever.
At the far end, we've got a double hook, and that's where you would hang or suspend the thing that you want to weigh.
So say I've got a bag of wool.
Yes.
I would hang my bag of wool on that hook at the
on
end.
that double hook at the end. And then you will use counterweights on the other end of the arm to create a balance.
To work out how much wool I've got.
Yeah. There are a selection of weights. They've all got a nice little hook at the top so that they can easily be suspended and moved across that central arm.
So what sense are we thinking about?
In my head, I'm actually thinking about 2 senses.
Oh dear.
But if I'm going to commit to one, it will be touch, because I like the fact you don't need eyes to be involved in this transaction. So if you're partially sighted or you can't see, for example, it's all very tactile. You can feel those weights, so you know what's going on. You know where the hooks are. There's different grooves. You can feel those measurements. I like to think that it's helping you not get tricked. Because if we weighed something these days, we would just see a number, wouldn't we, on a scale or a little arrow pointing to a number.
We're just believing what it says.
We're just believing what it says. But here you can feel the grooves. You can feel where the weight is on the arm. And
you can feel when it balances and the arm is straight.
Yeah.
Even somebody who's partially sighted can still be involved in the transaction.
Yeah, definitely. In the example that we've got here in the photo, there's a mini Mercury, the god of many things, as they all are, commerce and trade and profit. But also, Mercury was a god of trickery.
Again.
So that ties in nicely, doesn't it? It wasn't uncommon to have a mini Mercury in your set of weights, overseeing the transaction as the god of trickery, making sure that nothing dodgy gets done.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Looking at this transaction,
yeah,
it's almost giving you some credibility.
Maybe, yeah. Shall I round off with a fun fact, though?
Always.
1 Roman pound was known as a libra.
Ah.
Which is where we get the LB shortening from in pound.
And that's why Libra is the weighing scale.
Yes.
Good, huh? Yeah, thank you. I'm really, really happy with that.
I'll end on a high then. Caroline, what was your favourite?
By far and away, my favourite was the keys. Because I genuinely find Roman keys fascinating.
Okay.
There are just so many different types. They range from the absolutely huge to the ridiculously tiny. And they're not the lightweight keys we have today. Some of these are incredibly heavy, maybe over 1 kilo.
Keys were better back then.
Yeah, solid, proper keys. They're not going to snap in the lock, are they?
No, you're not going to lose that in your handbag.
Absolutely not. Now, front door keys would have been really quite chunky objects, not pocket friendly.
No.
It's 50 centimetres long.
Where did they keep them?
Well, quite often, if you've got something worth protecting, you would probably have somebody in your house guarding your house at all times.
Oh, okay.
You probably wouldn't need to take a key with you.
Okay.
Right.
So it's just maybe for locking up at night.
But the mechanisms too, I'm just revelling in my key love. The mechanisms are incredibly complex and, in my opinion, can only have been invented by an absolute genius.
Oh.
Some fold up.
What?
And some, Laura, some Roman keys are made to break after one use. Secret things. Yeah. Oh, so good. It's like having the best secret diary as a kid. The sense I would like to focus on is...
touch?
It's not, actually. I'm going to go for sight.
Okay.
Most, if not all, of the keys on display in the Mithraeum have that little loop on the top of them. A bit like our modern front door keys. You have a hole and then the key ring goes through the hole, right? But this was a loop at the end. And so depending on the size of the key involved, you can imagine this maybe going on a cord around your neck or a bigger one on your belt. My absolute favourite are the finger keys.
The finger keys.
Now, finger keys are quite literally keys worn on your fingers like a ring. And they're made of very, very fine metal. Some of the designs are so delicate and intricate and beautiful and complex that they almost look like little labyrinth designs. And the level of craftsmanship that must have gone into making these rings, because that specific design has to fit into the corresponding lock.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
So the more elaborate you make it, the more difficult you are making that task.
Correct. But these are tiny. These go on your finger. These are very small keys for very, very small locks.
Are we thinking maybe chests and precious, where you put your keepsakes?
Exactly. Jewellery boxes, perhaps, or a chest or a valuables case.
Money boxes, maybe.
Money boxes.
And then you'd have it on you all the time.
You'd have it on you all the time. I digress, because we should be focusing on sight. Now, wearing the key as jewellery is a good way of keeping it safe. You can keep your eye on it, as it were, at all times. You can see if you've lost it. But it also had another purpose. And remember that Roman culture and society was incredibly visual, and that they were obsessed with social status. So even little things like keys could be charged with symbolism. So as a status symbol, it means you've got something worth stealing.
So if you've got 10 finger keys, you are winning in life.
You are the creme de la creme, Laura. They catch the light when you're talking. So again, you're gesticulating and you're bringing attention to the fact that you've got money. You are important. And also, if you have keys, it shows you can be trusted with something, looking after something. You're in charge of something. And that means you're important because you've got control.
Bit of prestige there.
Bit of prestige. You might have access to something that nobody else has access to. And finally, some of these wearable keys may have been completely symbolic. So maybe they didn't actually access anything, but they represent the fact that you have money and responsibility, rather than being an actual functional key.
Okay.
But some were functional.
Right.
So there you go, Roman keys.
I like that one, thank you.
You're very welcome.
And our final exhibit, which we both loved, the writing tablets.
They don't seem fun on the face of it.
No.
But that's why it's so nice to look at things from a different perspective. Yeah. And I keep banging on about it, but it is true.
Well, it sounds very basic, but actually, these are the earliest handwriting examples found in Britain, including the earliest date ever recorded on a handwritten document.
I mean, if that's not thrilling, I don't know what is. So they found 400 writing tablets preserved in the mud of the River Walbrook during this excavation, documenting all kinds of things, didn't they, Laura?
Stuff like business transactions, notes between acquaintances, general, gossip and chit-chat.
Yeah. And I think we all have an image in our heads when we think of a wax writing tablet, a Roman writing tablet. I think we all know what they look like. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about actually using one of these tablets.
Okay.
If you will indulge me.
I will.
Thin, rectangular pieces of wood, about 14 centimetres wide by 10 centimetres. Actually, if you put your palm out, Laura, sideways.
Yep.
It fits really nicely into the palm of your hand. Just slightly bigger, including the fingers. And you would write on the tablet on the horizontal axis in a landscape format.
Yeah.
So not like a notebook. Nowadays, we'd write on
portrait rather than landscape.
Yeah. So the good thing about that, it fits in your hand quite nicely. You don't need to lean against anything when you're writing. You don't need to get anyone to turn around and say, oh, can I just borrow your back so I can write this note? You don't need a table. It's very practical, as long as you've got somewhere to store your stylus, I guess.
Yeah.
On one side, the outside is just smooth wood And on the other, the wood has been hollowed out, and in the centre is filled with a layer of black beeswax for writing on.
But the wax doesn't survive in these examples.
It doesn't. No, it's just the wood. But it's black wax that's used so you can see the lettering more clearly in contrast against the wood.
Yeah.
Now, quite a few of the examples are made of silver fir, pale wood. Not native to the UK, by the way. I don't know how
Here
much...
we are with your wood facts again.
You know I love a tree fact. It's well known for being quite lightweight, as you know.
I do.
Lightweight, quick drying, easy to work with, and pale. So it contrasts with that black beeswax.
Yep.
Now the stylus, Laura. Pointy end.
Yep.
What's on the other end?
Flat end.
Flat end. Pointy for scratching the letters into the beeswax, and then the flat end to smooth out any mistakes that you might make.
Yeah.
I want you to think about the consistency of wax.
Okay, I'm closing my eyes.
Wax affected by temperature.
Yes.
So if it's hot, the wax will be softer.
Yeah, more liquidy.
More pliable, more liquidy. But in the cold, wax is very brittle. Harder to work with.
Very.
And that's one of the reasons why we have writing surviving on these tablets.
Because people have had to press really hard.
Press really hard, and so it's effectively scratched through the wax and into the wood itself.
Yeah.
Which is a blessing, really, because it means we have all of these lovely notes. Quite a lot of the examples found at the site have 2 sets of little holes along that long top edge. And that is for a cord or a wire to loop through that holds 2 tablets together. So then you open them like a book, really, along the long edge. And also along that top and bottom long edge, you get a little V shape notched into the wood. And that is so a cord can be tied round the tablets, the 2 tablets, to hold them closed, hold them together, keep them private to some extent. So imagine these 2 tablets close together, Laura.
Yeah.
You've got the address on the outside, scratched in bigger letters or in capital letters normally, a bit like we would do in an envelope. We'd probably write bigger on the outside of the envelope.
Yes.
And also you might, if you're a Roman, you might smear some of that black wax just on the outside and write into that. Just so, again, it can be reused. You don't want to scratch the address in once.
Yes, because then you can only write to one person.
You can only write to one person, Laura. And wouldn't that be awful? We had a favourite exhibit that stuck out, didn't we?
We did. The letter to Magontius. I love that. I just love the simplicity of the address. Magontius, London. I love the optimism of the sender that it will reach him.
Sure.
Given that there are 30 to 60,000 people in London at that time.
Only one Magontius.
Apparently so.
So this is being sent to a man in London called Magontius, and is actually the earliest written reference to London.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
very interesting.
This is 65 to 70 CE, so just after the Boudiccan revolt.
Yeah.
Don't know what the letter said to him, though, do we?
No, we don't. We're presuming it got to him.
We don't know where it came from. It could have come from Bath or...
Yeah, could have come from next door to Magontius.
It's a bit lazy. We don't have anything else except for Magontius and his very limited address, London. But I like to imagine somebody was mad at him. I don't know why. But I think somebody up north was mad to him and furiously scratching his name into this hard wax on a freezing cold day.
Right.
In Britannia.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he owed them some money or something.
Maybe, yeah. Sounds like the kind of person who would.
Never trust a Magontius.
I like the fact that it's so tactile again. We've had a very touchy-feely episode, haven't we?
We really have.
No. So today, we rely very much on the visuals of a letter, don't we? But, you could feel the wax. You could feel what was going on there, couldn't you?
Yeah, and it'd get under your fingernails and, it'd probably smell quite nice as well. Beeswax has a nice smell to it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Maybe if you were writing a love letter, you could scent it with something floral.
Oh, that's nice. A little bit of perfume.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Well, thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the first instalment of our Londinium mini-series. Please join us next time. If you like what you heard today, then please do take the time to like, rate, subscribe or share wherever you download your podcasts. And of course, do feel free to contact us on our email or via our website.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.